Tonight, new era for the Independent National Electoral Commission as Senate confirms Amupitan as new INEC chairman. Age falsification and certificate forgery, protesters visit National Assembly. Also in the news, House of Representatives hold valedictory session for late former Speaker Agunwa Anikwe. Good evening and welcome to NTA Parliament News. I am Amina Saidu. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Professor Joash Amupitan as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Amupitan, a professor of law and senior advocate of Nigeria, is the sixth to occupy the position since the return of democracy in 1999. During the screening, he acknowledged the shortcomings noted by senators in Nigeria's electoral system and expressed readiness to inject the needed reforms for integrity and transparency.
In the first place, I'm taking this position on trust, and the people who I'm going to work with, they must also appreciate the fact that they are there on trust, and because we have made the law, that should be done.
The quest to find lasting solutions to malnutrition and food insecurity in Nigeria continued at the National Summit on Nutrition and Food Security convened by the House of Representatives Committee on Nutrition and Food Security on the 9th of July 2025. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the conference is to build stronger synergy among stakeholders so as to tackle the issue frontally.
The core of food security is that every citizen should have access to nutritious, safe, and sufficient food always. This is the major focus of the National Summit on Nutrition and Food Security at the National Assembly. The heart of the summit lies in the stories of stunted children, people displaced by flood and left with nothing to eat, of farmers losing yields due to climate change, as observed by Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Nutrition and Food Security, Chike Okafo.
Let experts tell us what we should do, both at the national and subnationals, to address this challenge of malnutrition and lack of food.
Participants at this summit, drawn from federal, state, and development partners, were clear. Every Nigerian child deserves more than a hungry stomach. Enhanced governance priority on nutrition and increased awareness at the local level.
Transforming our food systems to make them more sustainable. The Nutrition 774 was bettered, and showing that Nigeria has decided as a unit to tackle malnutrition.
It is hoped that these conversations won't end in the corridors of the National Assembly, but in fuller plates, healthier meals, and a nation that nourishes its own. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Representative Chike Okafo is the chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Nutrition and Food Security. He joins us to speak more on that summit. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Summit on Nutrition and Food Security. Tell us more on its objectives.
Okay, we will not talk about the summit in isolation. We're just talking about how the committee came about, because if you look through, of course, you've been around and you understand what has been happening in National Assembly since 1999. We've hardly had a committee like this, dedicated solely to tackle or to look at how to work with the national government to see how to improve the lots of Nigeria or Nigerians in the area of nutrition and food. We've never had a committee like that until this 10th Assembly, under the leadership of Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, GCON, who came up with this committee months after the inauguration of the 10th Assembly. And then that was precisely November 28, 2023, and pronounced me as the chairman. And of course, immediately after that pronouncement, we went on the Christmas and New Year recess. So not until February 2024, when we resumed that, we had our inaugural session. And then, but before then, I had to sit down with him to understand the wisdom, to understand the direction, to understand the assignment. Why have a distinct committee dedicated to look at issues of nutrition and food security. So now, prior to this time, so you can easily agree with me that nutrition is an item that you can find in health, can find in agriculture, of course you can find in Ministry of Material Affairs and all that and all that. And of course, we have always had committees, that we are looking at these items across the committees of National Assembly. Of course, food security, the Ministry of Agriculture is now Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, right? So you now have a committee that has an assignment that is broad and it goes across, different ministries, departments, and agencies of government. Now, our core mandate is to look at existing laws with respect to nutrition and food and see how we can come up with new laws or how to amend existing laws to help to strengthen the deliverables in terms of nutrition and food. So it actually was the House of Reps that mandated my committee to convene that summit. The relevant ministries of agriculture, budget and planning, and health. We convened a meeting in Owerri. We had a 3-day retreat in Owerri.
How will this initiative address cost of food in the country?
So we now discovered that there are some, let me give you an example, there are some legislations in each of the states that also, to a large extent, affects the cost or price of food eventually, in the country. I'll give you a typical example. When a farmer goes to far northeast, say Bauchi or Borno, and then buys a trailer load of yam or tomato, and the farmer is coming from Cross River State. Now that is the other extreme of Nigeria. He's going to move that truckload of food from Bauchi, for instance, or Borno, for instance, before he will get to his target market, which is in Cross River State. He will pass through minimum of 11 states. And then, of course, you are a Nigerian and you're in the street. You will see, when you enter get into each of the states, you see some people who are carrying stick, stopping them, asking for one money or the other. And we found out that, of course, these monies don't even end up in the coffers of either the local government or the state. But these are all going to impact on the costs of food. Stakeholders and other interested parties, people who are interested in making the lot of Nigeria better with respect to nutrition and food, converge for 3 days, and then we're looking at solutions. How can we come up with ideas, solutions that we can now put together as what do you call it again? Yes, template to send to the government and to say this is what we found out, because you are now talking to the experts and stakeholders, and then people were bringing in ideas, different ideas across the 36 states, and then so that is the success of the summit.
Can you tell us the level of collaborations involved in this program?
I have not put down pen and paper asking him for 1 kobo or 2 because I have the backing of these partners. Sincerely speaking, we may not have been able to achieve what I think we have achieved without the massive support and backing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The news continues. Lagos State House of Assembly is working on a bill to create a legal framework that will attract private sector investments and ensure effective regulation of the railway services within the state. Speaker, Lagos House of Assembly Mudashiru Obasa disclosed this at a one-day public hearing on a bill for a law to establish Lagos State Railway Corporation system. State Assembly correspondent Musa Toliet has the story.
Lagos State launched the first phase of the 13-kilometer Blue Line rail system on September 4, 2023, while the Red Line was open to commercial activities on October 15, 2024. These light rail systems have continued to take pressure off the roads and enhance intermodal transportation in some parts of the metropolis.
Today's gathering underscores our
The one-day public hearing by the House Committee on Transportation is therefore aimed at receiving inputs from the public and stakeholders on the quest to establish Lagos State Railway Corporation to effectively manage the rail system in the state.
This bill empowers the corporation to enter into agreements and partnerships with both public and private entities. for the development and operation of railway projects.
This public hearing provides a platform for all stakeholders to examine the provisions of the bill critically, offer constructive feedback, and ensure that the final legislation is inclusive, practical, and forward-looking.
For the stakeholders in attendance, there was need for an overview of the proposed bill.
The bill, which contains 28 clauses, set out powers of the corporation, functions of the board, appointment, duties of the inspector of railways, funds of the corporation, and its relationship with the federal acts that regulate railway system in the country.
The floor was open to those who have contributions on the bill.
We have passed our comments, and I believe that that will be reviewed and put into consideration in alignment for this. For us to have a robust and very successful railway corporation, we need to have a real safety regulator that is independent of the operator.
Chairman House of Assembly Committee on Transportation sets the record straight on the need for the bill.
The idea of the railway corporation is to provide services in terms of railway operations for the people of Lagos, and also to ensure that all necessary legislative laws are put into place to ensure that we have a proper intermodal transport system that will connect all the aspects of transportation in Lagos State.
The proposed private member bill on the establishment of Lagos State Railway Corporation 2025 has scaled the second reading on the floor of the House of Assembly. In Lagos, Musa Toliad, NTA News.
This is NTA Parliament News. We'll take a break. The news continues shortly. Stay with us.
Do you know your representatives in the National Assembly? Do you know their duties, their promises, and their impact? It's time to bridge the gap between the people and their lawmakers. It's time to know your legislator. Know your legislator, a civic power in your hands, only on NTA Parliament. Join us every week as we bring your senators and representatives closer to you.
The Kebbi State House of Assembly has passed a bill for the establishment of the Kebbi State Senior Secondary Education Board. Chairman of the House Committee on Basic and Secondary Education, Mohammed Garbabina, noted that the move is aimed at reviving and strengthening senior secondary education across the state. State Assembly correspondent Jafar Yusuf Ilu reports.
The Kebbi State House of Assembly has passed executive bill seeking to establish Kebbi State Senior Secondary School Education Board. The bill, which scaled through its first, second, and third readings at plenary, received approval after careful consideration by the Committee of Whole.
The bill other matters connected there to 2025, thereby being that is
Chairman House Committee on Basic and Secondary Education, Mohammed Garbabina, underscored the importance of the bill in revitalizing and strengthening senior secondary education across the state.
Here we are talking about senior secondary school. We get funds from federal government like we do in the primary board. Then, unless there is this law, you cannot get that counterpart fund from the federal government. We also operate alongside with the national policy on education, who look different if we are not on board alongside with other states. So the aim is to bring us on board so that we operate along with all other states and national body of the educational sector. We also get whatever we're supposed to get from the national body in terms of funding and what have you.
With the legislature's approval, the bill now awaits the assent of the executive governor before it can be implemented. In Kebbi, Jafar Yusufilo, NTA News.
The Jigawa State House of Assembly has considered 3 development bills for first reading. Speaker Haruna Aliu Dangyatun also received students from 3 schools on a courtesy visit to commemorate the International Day of the Girl Child. Awal Muhammad Kazauri tells us more.
The 3 bills are for the laws to establish Jigawa State Rural Access Road Authority, Jigawa State Road Fund Administration Board, and the Jigawa State Teachers Development Agency. After deliberations, the Speaker of the House, Haruna Aliu Dangyatun, introduced students from 3 visiting schools, Dutse Model School and Dutse Capital School. In a symbolic gesture, the Speaker vacated his seat for the Peoples to preside over the House proceedings. Their discussions focused on issues of health, education, and the right of the girl child.
Always, as you have known, in 2024 budget, we budgeted 32% in education, while in this year's 2025, we budgeted 26% to curtail the problem and menace of education in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for believing that every child, especially every girl, deserves a seat in the table of leadership. You are indeed a leader, you are indeed a hero to every girl child in the state.
The Speaker commended the students for their confidence and urged the chairman of the House Committees on Health, Education and Local Government to consider their request for possible action. Highlight of the visit was the presentation of gifts to Governor Umar Namadi and the Speaker Jigawa State House of Assembly Haruna Aliyu Dangatim for supporting girl child education. In Dutse, Awal Muhammad Kazaure, NTA News.
Now, Ogun State House of Assembly has passed a bill seeking to regulate activities of scavengers and waste dealers in the state to promote public order, environmental safety, and peaceful coexistence. The House also adopted a resolution on interagency collaboration and security and called on the Inspector General of Police to address multiple police checkpoints along the Owode-Idiroko Road over alleged harassment, intimidation, and extortion of the residents and commuters. State Assembly correspondent Yemi Dalemo completes the story.
The report of the Scavengers and Waste Dealer Law 2025 presented by the Chairman House Committee on Environment Samsudeen Lawal was adopted clause by clause and passed in a unanimous vote.
A bill for a law to regulate the activities of scavengers and waste dealers in Ogun State, third reading.
Mr. Clark, kindly forward a clean copy of the House Bill number 020 OG 2025, Scavengers and Waste Dealers for 2025 to the Governor of State Excellency Prince Alidapo Abiodun CON OFR for his assent.
The House adopted a resolution following the motion moved by Adebisi Oyedele, representing Ipokia Idiroko constituency, calling for the intervention of the Inspector General of Police on addressing the issue of 52 checkpoints on a 20-kilometer Owode-Idiroko road, which has led to continued extortion, bribery and harassment of residents and commuters who recently resumed from a 5-day strike to express their displeasure.
House notes with great concern the escalating number of security checkpoints along Idiroko Owode Road, which has now culminated in untold hardship, traffic gridlock, unnecessary extortion, and deliberate dehumanization of road users within and outside Ipokia local government.
Now, checkpoints are now market area and negotiation area for money. Police checkpoint is no more safe for our people. Even seeing police on our road make you afraid, scared, because they no more protect life and property. They are now after money.
Please do the needful. The issue of petition, the issue of writing letters to the National Assembly, the issue of petitioning the police at the state level. Copy of this resolution should get to Mr. Governor because he's the Chief Security Officer of the state.
In another motion brought by Fatiu Folaewo Salami, the House advised relevant security agencies to embark on coordinated measures to address the influx of undocumented foreign nationals in Ifo constituency to maintain peace and public safety. The lawmakers invited stakeholders involved in the Rested Anchor Borrowers Program of the federal government over continued illegal withdrawals of personal savings accounts who were listed as beneficiaries of the program but never benefited from the program.
The accounts were opened from the data collected from these farmers, fast forwarded months and years after. This money that were never assessed by this farmer were being taken away from the account owners.
This house is re-inviting all the stakeholders, Burma Bank, Ministry of Agric, Ministry of Trade, Commerce and Industries, the stakeholders in armed corporate.
The lawmakers received students of Police Secondary School Shagamu and members of the Spinal Cord Injury Association of Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter, who were in the house to seek support and constitutional recognition for spinal cord injury survivors in the state. In Abuja, Yemi Talemu, NTA News.
A group of Nigerians have staged a peaceful protest at the Secretariat of the National Assembly complex, raising their voices against age falsification and certificate forgery, issues they say continue to undermine national development and integrity. The protesters said it was a purposeful advocacy to call out a culture of dishonesty that is eaten deep into the education system, public service, and even politics. Age falsification and certificate forgery, they added, are not just personal crimes, but they rob the country of competent leadership and merit-based progress. The protesters say these acts, often overlooked or tolerated, continue to compromise recruitment processes, inflate qualifications, and allow unqualified individuals to occupy sensitive positions across sectors.
It's a sensitization awareness, a very patriotic one, to talk about the issues we've been having in the country of late, where people are found to be falsifying their ages and then certificate forgery, as alleged. Now, to which a very senior person in government recently resigned, and quite a number of allegations. We are making use of this opportunity to encourage our government, patriotically, to beam their searchlight on people entrusted into offices at various levels of government, the executive, the legislature, and of course the judiciary, at the federal, state, and local level of Nigeria. Nigeria cannot wait to develop. Are we going to hand over continually the responsibility and resource of Nigeria and Nigeria's budget into those that are given those responsibilities of office? How will they do it? How will they be able to transform those policies and programs of government? Because you cannot build something on nothing, according to law. If you are not educated, you don't have the right qualification, why are you there? If you are falsifying your age, that means you are a criminal. And if you have been so found wanting, we encourage our government to do the needful.
I would like the government to focus their attention is on the security. DSS have to be screening all these guys properly before they were even given appointment. Because I believe, Mr. President cannot do everything all. This is a government all of us came out to support, and we will never allow anybody to bring this government give this government a kind of bad reputation.
Late former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Agunwa has been described as one of several presiding officers who strengthened Nigeria's legislature through integrity rather than ambition. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, stated this at a special valedictory session in the House. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikpen reports.
It was a solemn occasion with the body of the late former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Agunwa Anekwe, lying in state at the foyer of the National Assembly complex. At a young age of 36, Anekwe presided as Speaker of the House of Representatives between 1992 and 1993, and parliamentarians in this special valedictory session eulogized him as a principled advocate of democratic ideals who contributed immensely in shaping the moral compass of the legislature.
He upheld the sanctity of this House and demonstrated that even in turbulent periods, legislative order can be preserved.
When the military enacted a decree that limited the powers of the House, Honorable Agwa Onakwe, as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, not only preached the gospel of democracy, but championed that cause and practicalized it by standing firmly against that obnoxious and draconian decree.
Even when the military struck
on November 17, 1993. Right Honorable Abuja Ekwe was determined to reconvene the House of Representatives.
He will be remembered by the things he handed out to others and by the lives he touched.
There were requests to immortalize the late former speaker.
We asked the federal government to name a national monument after this former speaker.
Our National Assembly then had many entitlements that the government should settle.
We are comforted by the very kind words that have been said about him today.
As the House adjourns plenary for the day to honor the former speaker who died in July this year, his homeward journey terminates with funeral rites at his country home in Anambra State. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And that's our package this evening. You can follow us for news updates on our social media handles showing on your screen. Thanks for watching and do have a great evening. I am Amina Saidu.